Hello everyone, Alec DeLorean here, and I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. Now in today's video, we're going to be going through Juggernaut's best build for Marvel's Mystic Mayhem. But before we get into it, if you would like to join my Discord, the link is in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video, this content, and all things Marvel related, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the video. Alright, so we're going to be going through the best build for Juggernaut. Starting us off, we'll go through the contents. As always, I'm going to do a big shout out to mysticmayhem.gg. There's a lot of good information on there in terms of which characters are on in the game, the tier list for the characters, all of the artifacts and highlights. There are a couple of missing legendary artifacts on there, but other than that, it's a very solid website and I highly recommend you have a look. But in the terms of the contents for this video in particular, I've actually started to switch out the best artifacts into two sections. We've got the purples, so the rares, and then the legendaries, because I wanted to have a page just for maybe free-to-play people who haven't got the legendaries yet and they want to know which purples are the best. And then ones for legendaries who maybe the whales, or if they've got lucky and pulled the exact legendaries that they need, the legendaries that you would most likely want to equip. Bear in mind, some characters will have a very good legendary, but purple might be the second best slot. So keep that in mind, and I'll try and keep that in the video as well. But other than that, we continue with the highlights, the stats, the Soul Saga route, and then we discuss the skills and passives. So first of all, we'll go through the purple artifacts. So we have the Force Field Glove, the Sling Ring, the Avengers ID card, and the Undrian. So the Force Field Glove is pretty standard as it increases the wearer's HP by 10%. That's pretty decent for a tank because more HP is always better for tanks. And then the Sling Ring is also good because the wearer gains a shield equal to 24% of their max HP when their HP is below 50% once per battle. So that's pretty good in case they take a massive amount of damage, but then the shield pops, which is also always a nice thing to happen. And then we have the Avengers ID card, increases all allies attack by 15% for 10 seconds after the wearer uses their ultimate move, which is always very good. Especially on tanks who can get their ultimates pretty fast. You'll pretty much always want to be running the Avengers ID card in that case. And lastly, the Undrian is all allies take 12% less damage for 10 seconds after the wearer uses their ultimate move. Now that's pretty good in case you're struggling with some missions and you need that extra survivability for the team. That's a good one to put on just to see if you can pass the mission. But other than that, the other three are probably stronger for Juggernaut. And then we move on to the legendaries. I think there's one obvious choice for me in terms of Juggernaut, and I think that's Crimson Gem. So what the Crimson Gem does is the wearer gains 1 stack of Crimson Mark after they use a skill up to 3 stacks. What Crimson Mark does is consumes all stacks, and the wearer heals 10% of max HP for every consumed stack after they use an ultimate move. So if they're at 3 stacks of Crimson Mark and they use their ultimate move, they're going to heal 30% of their health, which is always very good on characters that need to survive, aka tanks, aka Juggernaut. So Crimson Gen is definitely a very good one to have. The other two fall off kind of slightly. Like I'm throwing Gungnir in here because he does a lot of skill damage and this increases your skill damage, but you don't really want that on Juggernaut because whenever you're choosing him, he's not there to pump out crazy amount of damage like DPS. So it's probably better to have a different one other than Gungnir, but if you don't have Crimson Gen, Gungnir is also a good one. Or if you just want a battle tank. And then Cosmic Cube is the other one as well. Grants 40 ultimate energy for the wearer and a random ally after the wearer uses a skill. Now this is probably better than Gungnir, so if you don't have Crimson Gen, throw on Cosmic Cube instead. And then if you don't have either, then it's up to you what you want to put on at that point. And then let's go over the best highlights. So the legendary that is pretty decent for Juggernaut is Blessing of Vishanti. The wearer's HP is increased by 10% after using their ultimate move. The wearer gains a shield equal to 10% of their HP. The wearer deals 8% more damage and takes 8% less damage while they have a shield. So if you do pair up Blessing of Vishanti with the Sling Ring, you're going to be getting shields all the time, and whenever you do have a shield, you're going to be taking 8% less damage. So that's very nice and pretty good synergy if you want to go that route. Other purples that you might want to consider if you don't have a Blessing of Vishanti is Monster Within, which the wearer's HP increases by 16%. Enemies adjacent to the wearer deal 8% less damage to the wearer. And then Stand Strong is basically the same thing, other than you get 16% HP for the wearer, which is very good. And then this one is only that for each ally near the wearer takes 10% less damage. So if you have a lot of fighters on your team and you're going to be around your tank, then this one's pretty good. But if you do have range with Juggernaut, they're not going to be near them, so maybe this one might be better because there's always going to be lots of enemies. Probably Monster Within is always going to be better than Stand Strong, unless you're in a boss fight. And then lastly, if you don't have any of these, the best blue for the Juggernaut is Never Surrender, which is the wearer takes 8% less damage if their HP is below 50%. So they have the extra increased survivability towards the end of their life. And now the best stats for Juggernaut is, it's kind of obvious. Tanks, you want a lot of health, you want a lot of defense. And we're going with health percentage as the most important, then the health, and then special damage to finish it off. So you want to be going towards these two, and then if you can get any secondary stat, be going towards special damage. And then best Soul Saga route, I've gone with Heart 1 and 2, but then stop going through Heart, and then you go through all the way through Mind 1, 2, and 3, and then finishing off with Heart 3 to then finish off on Soul. I feel like this is probably the best route for Juggernaut, but when it comes to Soul Saga, it's going to be quite important if you want to go, depending on how much you spend on the game and how many pulls you get for Juggernaut. And then let's discuss the skills. So the first one is Cytorac's Curse. This one, you gain a shield and ultimate energy. So that one's pretty good because that's another thing to go with Sling Ring and the Blessing of Vishanti in terms of getting shields and benefiting from the shields. He just straight up gives himself a shield, and it only costs 2, which is very, very nice because it also gives him ultimate energy. And then the next one is Crimson Rage, which is also very good because it stops basic attacks and starts to charge. Taking less damage while charging, ends the charge, and deals special damage to adjacent enemies after 6 seconds. So yes, you do 0 damage after this because you're standing there idle for 6 seconds, and then after that you do an insane amount of damage, special damage to all adjacent enemies, and because you're a tank, everyone's going to be most likely attacking you, so you're going to be doing a lot of damage to the front line. And then lastly is the ultimate, which is called Unstoppable. Well, Juggernaut dashes to the target location, dealing special damage to enemies in the path. So this doesn't include, he doesn't jump to the target area, he runs in a line, so anyone you run through does take the damage as well as the ones who get hit in the end area. It's very good, it does deal a lot of damage, it's very nice, but I feel like the skills are probably more important than the ultimate for Juggernaut, because Juggernaut, you just want to be taking damage, sponging damage, doing your best you can, and then the ultimate is more of a, let me try and kill a lot of people before I die myself. And then we have some passives for him. So the first one is Crimson Gem. Deals 13.8% more damage if Juggernaut's HP is higher than 50%. Takes 13.8% less damage if Juggernaut's HP is lower than 50%. So that's pretty good. Depending on your health, you might be doing more damage or taking less damage. Avatar's Destruction for the next one. Cytorac's Curse dispels a debuff, and Juggernaut is immune to new debuffs while he has a shield, which is very good because that means you can't get stunned, so you can still use your abilities. Stuff like that, you won't be able to get other debuffs where you take increased damage, which obviously is really, really good for a tank. Next one is Cytorac's Revenge. During the charge up of the Crimson Rage, each time Juggernaut takes damage, increase the damage dealt by the end of the charge up by 1%. So that it's not as important as the other passives for Juggernaut because you're not there to deal insane amount of damage, but all these 1% do add up in the end, and it's very, very satisfying when you can pull that off. And then lastly is Bad Attitude. Continuously taunts enemies during the charge up of Crimson Rage, which is very, very good because you want people to be around you with Crimson Rage, and then as soon as you get a load of people around you, then you just do insane damage to them. So this passive is quite important for that skill itself. And there you go, there is Juggernaut's best build. I think that I covered quite a decent amount, and I'm really happy that I introduced having purples and legendaries on 2 different slides, as I know I've missed a lot for the other ones, so I'll probably have to revisit them at a later time so I can tell you the best legendaries for Scarlet Witch and anyone else. But other than that, I won't keep you any longer though, so if you would like to join my Discord, the link is in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video, this content, and all things Marvel related, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.